And a lot of the reason why we're not consistent, it actually comes back to childhood. And people don't realize that. So if our parents are not showing up consistent, they're saying things like, hey, I'm going to pick you up at 8 o'clock at school. And then they don't show up some days, and then some days they show up, and it's very inconsistent. So you actually can't build that trust in them that they're going to be there when they say they are. Some days there's love, some days there isn't. Some days you just don't even know what to expect. It's hard to perceive the world consistently because we haven't received that. I'm never going to be a prisoner of my past. I'm going to dictate my future. I'm going to show up the way that I want to show up. And even if I didn't have that full representation of what consistency is, I'm going to create it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Fit Nurse Diaries, episode 3 in our Giddy Up 2.0, and I am literally here in Dallas, Texas. It's been absolutely amazing being here, and it's all the Giddy Up 2.0 vibes, okay? And I've literally been doing so many uncomfortable things of getting on the horse and just putting myself outside my comfort zone. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look at even Instagram, because I'm doing a challenge with myself and the community as well. And we're just like getting on the horse, doing the uncomfortable things this month. And I really wanted to talk this episode about consistency. And when you do the uncomfortable things, often people are like, okay, I did that thing. I got over my fear. And then they do it once and then they kind of like pull back. And it's because naturally, when we do things that are uncomfortable, our nervous system is literally like, oh my gosh, in shock. And then our stomach is like, oh. So it's hard to put ourselves in those positions over and over again and get on the horse again. But when you really want to get towards your goals and you want to do the uncomfortable thing but actually stick with it, it's all about consistency. And a lot of people don't truly understand consistency in the depths that I literally want to go through today, because it is so much deeper than people think that it is. But in order to get towards your goals, you have to be consistent. You have to imagine yourself literally 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, still living this lifestyle. And the only way to do it, to imagine yourself still going out to eat, eating the healthy food, still going and doing your 4 workouts a week, still going for the steps, is you have to be consistent. And a lot of the reason why we're not consistent, it actually comes back to childhood. And people don't realize that. A lot of the times they think that, oh, like I fall off all the time, or like I just like can never like do it, I'm lazy, all these things. Like you guys are so mean to yourself. Like I hear it every single day. And I think it's so important to remember that it's so much deeper than what we think it is. So I'm literally going to reveal that today, underneath the cover of why we're not consistent. So the reason being is that, let's bring it back to the way that we grew up when we were younger. Okay, so when we're younger, we often are going to look at our parents as an example. Okay, and if the example of the way they showed up, in the way that they love you, the way they were accessible to you, the way that they are caring for you and showing up in the journey, is the way that we're going to perceive the world. So if our parents are not showing up consistent, they're saying things like, hey, I'm going to pick you up at 8 o'clock at school. And then they don't show up some days, and then some days they show up, and it's very inconsistent. So you actually can't build that trust in them that they're going to be there when they say they are. Or a lot of people that have had empty promises given to them, where they're like, okay, like I'm going to do this for you, and then they just like disappear. Or you just haven't had parents that are fully available as well. Like I went through some hard things even in my childhood. I'm not going to reveal all that right now, but that is something that definitely played a role in consistency, because that's how you develop your perception of the world based on how your parents are. So if your parents weren't showing up on time and they constantly were making you feel like, are you going to be there? Are you not going to be there? Some days there's love, some days there isn't. Some days you just don't even know what to expect. It's hard to perceive the world consistently because we haven't received that. And then that's how we form our knowledge of the world, is based on that. So it's really important that you understand that it's so much more deeper than you think it is, and to not be so hard on yourself. Because if you're imagining right now, like I really want you to imagine it, like your childhood and your parents, or your relationships or your friendships and all this stuff. Like, did you have constant love? Did you have consistency in those? Did you have people that truly had your back and always did? And if the answer is no, then we haven't been fully shown the perception of consistency over time. So it's hard when we haven't seen the model to be able to actually then do it for ourselves. Because how are we supposed to show up consistent in our lives, in our fitness journey, in eating really healthy, in going and doing these routines, if we've never been shown that, right? Like, it's always important that we have someone to look up to with that. So this is not me, gals, like telling you that your parents were like horrible with parenting or anything like that. That is your own description of what you want to create with the narrative that you're creating. But what I want to say is that it's so much bigger than we think. So that's why it's never that we're a prisoner of our past, because like all these things will show us, yes, that's the reason. But then we have to move forward. We have to be like, I'm not going to stay stuck in that prison of this, what happened to me, and I'm always going to be like this, and, parenting and all that stuff. It's so important to move forward, and it's very empowering to move forward as well. And I've always told myself in the journey, I'm never going to be a prisoner of my past. I'm going to dictate my future. I'm going to show up the way that I want to show up. And even if I didn't have that full representation of what consistency is, I'm going to create it. Because what is consistency? What is trusting yourself? It's doing the things you say you're going to do over and over again until you actually have so much evidence stacked that you're like, I trust myself fully. And I know a lot of us have done like fitness programs in the past, or the fad diet, or all these different things, and you've never been able to fully show up consistently, be like, yes, I know, I trust myself. And that's why so many women come into, my ecosystem, and they're like, Corey, like, I don't actually believe that like I can fully do this. Or they're like, Corey, like, I have never been able to do this in the past. I've never proven it to myself that I can actually live this lifestyle or show up consistent. So what makes this different? And everyone always comes to me and they're like, what makes your program so different? Like all the things. How's it different than anything in the past? And like, don't want to like join if it isn't different than something they've done in the past. But guess what, gals? The only way to have something different is to be different, to move different. It's not a matter of, does Courtney do something different? Yeah, I do things different in this program, but that doesn't matter. It's who you become. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to be able to create that consistency for yourself. And these, I freaking swear, like if you take these on, you write them down, it will change everything for you, because this is literally the building blocks that built the discipline that I have created in my life. And I know that I can literally give to you to be able to create a life that you can show up consistent to your health and your fitness every single day. So number one, it starts with being able to build that trust with yourself. And the only way to do it is to create a new identity. Okay. So I know, I'm sure many of you heard in the other podcasts and things that I'm saying online and stuff, identity is creating that new version of yourself. Okay. And the only way to step into it is to imagine yourself already projecting that future version of you. Okay. So I want you to imagine right now, your 2.0 version What does she look like? How does she show up? What habits does she have? What is she eating in the day? When she's really tired, like how is she showing up after that shift? And the answers to those are going to show you what that 2.0 is. And when you have that 2.0 vision, now you want to ask yourself in intuition, like that 2.0 version of me, how would she show up in this moment? And I already know, like my 2.0 version is like on it. Like even if the luteal phase is coming in quick and I'm like falling over and all the things, I'm still showing up to those Zoom calls. Why? Because I need to show up for all of you. I need to be that person that is a leader in your life to be like, yeah, I'm going to show up even when there's hard days, even when there's a time change, even when, life got me down and I'm like crying 2 seconds before the Zoom call and then pop it on. That is consistency, right? And it's telling ourselves that when we move like the future version of us, the version that we want to be, we can become her. And that's when we stack the evidence, but you actually have to identify who you want to be and then move like her. Because you can't be that new version of yourself that is consistent, doing all the things, if you are moving like the same version of you that walked into this podcast. We can't be the same version because you get the same outcomes when you think the same and you move the same. But when you shift, that's when a different outcome comes. Okay, so identity shifts is the number one thing. Okay, second thing is you need to future pace. So you need to be thinking about your future, like how you're gonna feel in literally like an hour from now or 2 hours from now or a day or a week later. Like you need to be thinking about how you're gonna feel with every action that you're doing. And not, are we going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Sometimes we are going to have the donut and sometimes we are going to have a stressful day and we're just going to fall over instead of doing our steps. I don't want you to be perfect in the journey. All I want you to do is most days think about how you're going to feel with everything that you're doing. Because if the future version of you is going to feel like shiz because we're showing up and we're like only half doing the steps all week and we haven't been able to lose the weight because of that, we're going to feel like shiz in the future, right? When we get that check-in day, we're going to be like, oh man, like I wish I would have went down. We never want to like go into the future and be like, oh, I wish I did these things. We just want to think about that in the current. So constantly I am thinking about how am I going to feel if I do something like, for example, like Vegas. Vegas is incredible. Like there is literally like anything like available in Vegas. It's so wild. But every single time I stay at the hotel, they got all the snacks in the corner. And I'm like, oh, I actually dig into them like hard. And I have in the past. And after every single time that I dig into them, in the moment, I'm like, this is amazing. But then an hour later, a day later, a week later, when it shows up on the scale and I'm feeling the guilt, I don't feel as great about that decision. And, sometimes I allow myself, hey, absolutely, like have the snacks, you should. But for the most part, we're going to feel a little bit guilty if we go overboard, right? So something that I always think about is like, how am I going to feel? Now, that new version of myself is constantly thinking that way because I learned from how I felt in the past. So I want you to always think about like learning from how you felt in the past towards those decisions as well. So if you didn't feel great, it's like, okay, we can't move like that. But of course, like I said, not being hard on ourselves because we can't do that either because that's the worst thing. But just move through it and then move differently next time. So that's really important. And then the third thing is being able to actually be consistent. That's literally it. It's like telling yourself that when you get done that 12, 13, 14 hour shift, you're like, I am still going to show up. Why? Because I need to be that version that actually does the things that I say I'm going to do. I need to show up consistent. And gals, consistency is not like every single day you have to hit the steps, you have to hit the water, you have to be perfect with the nutrition. No, it's like a battery. Consistency is like if you looked at your battery on your phone, there's like 0 to 100, right? It's still consistent if the battery is still like available. It's not completely shut off. The phone's not shut off. So if the battery is at like 30% one day, it's still there. If the battery the next day is 100, still there. The next day, 5, still there. What does that mean? Is that if you do like some days where you only can do the water and the steps, that's still consistency. You're still building that. If some days you're literally like about to fall over and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even do this like workout right now. I'm like in my luteal, or I'm like going through like menopause symptoms. Just show up anyways. Why? Because you ticked it off. It doesn't even matter if you showed up and you're falling over and you barely used any weight. Like, that is so much better because you're solidifying patterns. Now you're solidifying that you can do this. There's evidence that is stacking. So it doesn't need to be perfect. Heck no, I'm not perfect in the journey, but it just needs to be done over time. Okay. And the worst thing is to give up because it's not perfect. So that's a couple of things that are really important in building this. And then the other piece is actually just creating a really good environment for this too. Okay, so no one really talks about that because everyone's like, oh, it's just about like showing up. You got to have the discipline. But you also need to be surrounded by people that support that too. If every single day your friends are telling you like, no, like let's go out for pizza, or these, why are you going to work out right now? You shouldn't be, like, let's go to the park. Let's go do this. Yes, that is all things, but that is not going to be moving you forward because you're always the 5 people that you hang around. So if people aren't supporting you, you're not having that ecosystem that is lifting you up and doing the things. We always rise or fall to the standards of the people in our lives, right? So the idea with this is I even think about my team. And with my team, because I hold such a high standard, they can either rise or fall to it. But if they fall to it, it's like, hey, we need to work on that. We got to get back up here because that's the environment that we're creating. And if they can't get back up there, it's like, maybe we shouldn't be here at all. So I think it's so important that the people that are in your life also have the ability to support you with your goals and are actually cheering you on and creating those sort of standards with themselves as well. And that creates the best pillar to be able to be consistent over time. But at the end of the day, with all the pillars there, those will help you so freaking much to be able to be consistent. But it's also like, it's your will. It's you. So at the end of the day, something that I always think about is every day matters. So every day that you're here on this earth, you never know when you're going to pass. You never know when something's going to happen. So do you want to look back at the end of your life and be like, oh yeah, I only like half did things and I never got towards the goals because they were always 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in constantly? Or do you want to be the person that's like, I literally came on this earth for a mission and I did everything possible to be the best version of myself, to show up the best, because then when you do that, that changes everything. That changes how you show up at work. That changes how you show up in your partnership, in your family, in everything that you're doing here on earth. You think that that just happens and it just like happens? Like, no. When you work on yourself, when you pour back into yourself, when you show up consistent, when you become that amazing person that is like, I do the things I say I'm going to do, holy heck, your world changes. Every part of your world changes. So you want to look back at your end of your life and be like, oh, I literally gave it my all in that aspect and it changed everything for me. Instead of looking back and being like, oh yeah, I half did things. Because like, if you actually like, I did this in one of the retreats actually, and I called it the space day. And the idea was that you're looking at your life here on earth from space, or from heaven, if you will. And you're looking down and you're like, do I feel really proud of the way that I'm showing up? Am I happy with the life that I created? Do I feel really good, or am I holding myself back? Am I stepping outside my comfort zone? Because if you're saying no to those things, looking at your life right now, looking down, it's so important to change those things. And the way that we're creating that even this month with this podcast and with the community is to do the Giddy Up 2.0. And that's doing the uncomfortable thing, getting on the horse, and then actually letting it relay consistently in your life. And that is so important, gals, because consistency wins always. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast on Giddy Up 2.0 and the Fit Nurse Diaries. Please subscribe to keep on listening in. And next week, it's going to be a really fun episode because I'm actually going to be pulling gals from my community, and they're going to be in the hot seat just like we did with the coaches. And I'm just going to ask them a bunch of questions at a random. I'm not even going to tell them the questions ahead of time because I want it to be like so sporadic and so real and authentic. And you'll see how they've completely changed in here in this ecosystem. And that's going to be so cool. And that's going to be here in Dallas. So let's go. All right, gals, I will chat to you soon. Bye-bye.